香港我覺得係地獄啦，由於一落機又落雨啦，跟住然後天氣係十分之翳焗。
夏天越來越熱了，但是感覺冬天好像又沒那麼冷。
現在我感覺我一出門就很想回家，就是感覺在外面的溫度已經讓我受不了了。
Before we embark on our exploration of climate change, let's first gain a clear understanding of what it entails.
Climate is warming, which is a trend in the temperatures that we can actually physically measure. If you have a warm summer or a cold winter, that is just weather, changes in the weather. But if you have an upturning trend in the temperatures, then that is a change in the climate. And the reason that this matters is it tends to make the temperatures at the equator and the polar regions more similar, and that changes atmospheric circulation patterns. And the atmospheric circulation patterns drive the winds and humidity and ultimately control where you might have dry areas and wet areas. So the net result of the climate trend at the moment is these extreme weather events. So you get very, very hot temperatures that are unexpectedly high, and you can also get extreme flooding. You can get the wildfires that come from the heat as well.
As a group of university students, how can we learn about the impact of climate change on Hong Kong? We met Natalie Chung, a youth climate activist who is committed to environmental education and policy advisory.
People living under poverty are facing severe challenges under climate change. In Hong Kong, we have increasing number of hot nights. For hot nights, the numbers doubled and even tripled over the past decade. It is very crucial for us to take a deeper look into climate justice, be it in the UK or in Hong Kong. In Europe, we saw the heat waves last year led to a lot of deaths and injuries, while in Hong Kong, we also have people from caged homes and rooftop housing suffering from hot weather because they're unable to afford electricity for air conditioning.
我就2021年6月27號，咁啊嗰啲組咧就已經啲手腳咧就有些少感覺，咧，總以為冇乜問題，咁就去做工，就去到廣報道嗰度做工啊，咁就去嘅時候咧就已經成身汗啦。就去到做工嗰度咧，就已經啲衣服啊咩嘢都已經濕踩㗎啦，咁就覺得好似唔係幾妥咁啊。
夏天戶外
係啊，借電啊搞下啲線路咁嘅啫話，咁啊大多數咧就係整間屋拆咁啊，有嗰樣做嗰樣油漆啦、打牆啊咁啊，咩嘢工都做嘅咯，
呢間屋大概租幾錢啊
？4300蚊一個月啊。
會唔會屋企支出幾多啊？會唔會好大支出啊？
但係事實咧係咁噶啦。總之而家就做唔到咧，就慳啲先嚟。我就只能夠度一度8平方，即係等於80尺左右咯。我度過㗎，連埋廁所連剩，我度一度啦，得8平方。咁窄，2公婆行出行入都要蹦埋閃開先行得到。今年少好似比以往都熱。高樓大廈擋住啲風啦，但係佢啲高樓大廈咧，佢就有呢個空調尾風咧，係啊，有呢個空調尾風咧，咁吹咧。
To further understanding the difficulties faced by the underprivileged in Hong Kong under climate change, we visit Society for Community Organisation.
咁我哋機構係服務一啲基層弱勢嘅群體，咁包括係一啲獨居長者啦、低收入家庭啦、新移民啦、精神病患者啦、無家者啦。咁都係一啲喺社會上比較邊緣嘅社群啦。咁好多香港嘅弱勢社群其實都係會住喺一啲不適切居所，譬如係劏房啊、籠屋啊、板間房啊。咁所以我哋經常都會接觸到住喺呢啲不適切居所嘅居民咯。如果天氣熱嘅時候，最直接嘅挑戰就係大家都會去投訴就係電費貴啦。咁因為好多街坊咁，如果住咗喺公屋嘅話咧，咁可能會比較好啲嘅，個電費會平啲嘅，亦都有一啲政府嘅補助嘅。咁但係如果仲住緊喺不適切居所咧，好多時佢哋水電費就係業主收。咁業主嗰個水電費咧，好多濫收水電嘅情況，尤其是譬如電費咧，我哋都做過調查。可能平均業主都會收到去過6蚊一度電，咁有啲離譜嘅，甚至去到2蚊一度電。咁你比起電力公司真係收可能差唔多1蚊一度電啦。咁其實如果離譜嘅話，可以貴1倍嘅。咁所以個電費嘅開支，如果喺夏天同埋特別熱嘅天氣，而家好多時聽到啲街坊都話差唔多1000蚊，甚至超過1000蚊每個月嘅。咁如果係冇工作啊，或者係經濟本身有困難嘅話，個電費係好大挑戰啦。咁第二就係就算係開冷氣都好啦，咁始終冷氣唔能夠24小時開噶嘛。就算你俾到電費，咁都係面對住好焗嘅情況咯。因為當你喺劏房入邊，可能你冇窗啦，或者你有窗，但係打開個窗咧，都係對住啲天井啊，或者對住隔離屋啊，好近好近咁對住隔離屋，咁變咗都好焗。咁如果你話要打開門，咁又即係譬如女士又唔係咁方便啊，咁又擔心安全啊咁樣，所以都係第二個問題，比較焗咯。咁另外就係有好多工友可能都係做一啲體力勞動嘅工作，或者喺戶外工作嘅話，咁又面對住酷熱天氣，好多時都會話成身都濕晒，底衫褲都濕晒咁樣。咁最近其實政府有一個炎熱警告咁樣啦，就建議喺好熱嘅天氣要俾適當嘅休息啲工友嘅。咁但係暫時都見到僱主都仲未有俾足夠嘅休息或者唞涼嘅地方啊咁樣。咁好多時我哋啲街坊可能70幾80歲，年紀好大㗎啦，咁但係都做到成身都濕晒咁樣。咁同埋基層嘅工友好多時都長工時啦，咁變咗其實會係非常之勞累咯。關於電費嗰度咧，咁可能都大家都認識到呢個問題嘅，電費會好貴啊、好熱啊咁樣。咁所以最近都會電力公司有一啲電費補貼嘅。咁但係始終個幫助就係即係好過冇啦。咁因為始終1年係攞一次電力補貼1000幾百咁樣。 咁幫到少少，但係唔係好多。咁同埋亦都呢個係由電力公司自己推出嘅計劃，就唔係一個政府補貼，咁變咗就未必係個持續性啊，未必係恆常啊咁樣。咁所以街坊都會繼續有擔心咯。咁其實係見到呢個問題越嚟越嚴重嘅，所以最近都有一啲相關嘅計劃去幫嘅。咁但係就始終都係唔係幫到太多。咁同埋如果你話空間好焗啊、好細啊或者冇窗嘅話，咁就暫時即係除咗快啲上樓之外，都未有咩辦法解決到咯。政府都有恆常一啲全港性嘅計劃，做啲電費嘅回贈啊、補助嘅，咁但係就未見到好針對性，係針對一啲特別困難嘅譬如基層市民有啲乜嘢政府嘅計劃係關於能源嘅，咁都好經常見到街坊話好慳住用冷氣嘅，咁好熱嘅時候先至開一陣，咁亦都有經常聽到啲街坊話開一陣又會熄一陣。又等佢啲冷氣未散就唞一陣涼先，跟住又再開返，即係可能半夜會起身3、4次開冷氣熄冷氣，就係為咗慳電費。另外我哋留意到就係除咗電費之外，冷氣機啦，咁其實喺社會福利署就未當佢係一個必需品嘅。咁好多時街坊入伙。即係如果想申請冷氣機，佢負擔唔到嘅話呢，咁都要譬如有醫生紙證明你真係有皮膚病啊，或者有其他病啊，先至可以申請到。咁變咗，其實係咪應該考慮下喺而家長期都咁炎熱嘅天氣之下，冷氣機係咪必需品呢？
Hidden beneath the dazzling facade of Hong Kong, there exists a vulnerable group that often bears the greatest consequences of climate change. Hong Kong's energy consumption is increasing year by year. Is there any way to save energy? Greener action may provide us with an answer.
咁講翻啦，我哋綠領行動咧，其實就係1993年成立啦，咁到依家其實都30年啦。咁我哋一直以嚟咧都係對呢個減廢啦，特別係呢個塑膠減少即係即棄塑膠啦。廚餘上面啦，同埋等等嘅議題，我哋都係非常之關心嘅。我哋咧其實都推動過唔同嘅活動啦，包括係元朗嘅呢個全民絕膠嘅行動啦。其實咧都係鼓勵市民咧就係自備餐具去買外賣咧，咁就唔使咧即係用咁多即棄嘅膠嘅餐具嘅。咁另外咧就係就住呢個都市固體廢物啦嘅垃圾徵費嘅方面咧，其實我哋一路以嚟都有一個試驗嘅計劃咧，就係俾一啲唔同嘅物業啦，去等佢哋個法例喺生效之前咧，就等佢哋去熟悉呢個垃圾收費到底係點樣運作啦，以及係等佢哋明白源頭減廢嘅道理啦，去減少產生一啲固體嘅廢物嘅。咁另外啦，我哋之前咧亦都同呢個環保署合作啦，就係負責咗綠在長沙灣嘅其中一個回收點啦。咁睇到咧個反應亦都係相當好嘅。喺2022年嘅時候咧，經歷過疫情啦，咁但係我哋嘅回收物嘅總體量咧係不跌反升嘅。咁我哋都睇到 總回收量咧係去到497噸啦，咁其實咧就比上一個年度咧仲要升咗11%嘅。所以譬如我哋當時去推動呢個全民絕交嘅時候咧，我哋其實咧都有係通過同餐廳嘅合作啦，就提供唔同嘅優惠。其中有一間咧呢個海南雞飯店咧，咁一推出咗呢個俾長者嘅優惠嘅。咁只要佢哋攞個長者卡出嚟啦，同埋佢哋係自備餐具嘅話咧，我哋係可以經過資助之後咧，原本一個34蚊嘅海南雞飯係減到14蚊。咁當時嘅反應係非常之好嘅，短短4個月裏面咧，其實已經有9000幾個市民咧就係嚟參與啦咁樣。咁所以我哋都見到個反應係非常之好啦。咁當然亦都係一個事實咧，就係當誘因冇咗之後咧，其實可能個市民嘅反應咧係會有回落嘅。咁亦都非常之自然嘅一件事嚟嘅。咁但係如頭先所講啦，其實誘因只不過係其中一個即係推動市民嘅因素啦。咁其實我哋當中教育市民嘅目的其實已經做到咗啦。咁所以其實我哋都覺得非常之鼓舞嘅，見到個成果。咁但係我哋覺得咧，有好多時要推動一啲環保嘅政策咧，其實單靠誘因咧係唔足夠嘅。咁我哋覺得係喺個政策上面嘅配合啦，以及係一啲回收嘅配套上面啦，一定要即係三位一體咁樣去做咧，先至可以推得喐件事嘅。
Climate change is a global issue. It needs joint effort. So, what else can we do? Thinking of the similarity between Hong Kong and London, we came to London to explore more possibilities. We heard before that the energy bill in the UK is very high. Therefore, we interviewed Diana, the Executive Director of Fair Energy Campaign, to talk about the energy situation in the UK.
The energy crisis and fuel poverty is an important issue in the UK because it is affecting many households across the UK. With prices increasing in April, households have been affected, with people having to choose between heating and eating. The Fair Energy Campaign are in partnership with different organisations to campaign on this important issue. One being Warm This Winter campaign, where we've been working on different energy actions to actually make sure we can take action and also send a message to the government. Recently, the Fuel Poverty Action Group and the Warm This Winter campaign have launched the Energy for All petition, which brings together different organisations and individuals across the communities to talk about why the energy action and important issues need to be taken on this matter.
We're understanding the heating problem in the UK. Then how about eating?
So City Harvest London is a food redistribution charity that was founded in 2014. Our aim is to take surplus food from all across the food industry and get that to Londoners who are facing food insecurity. So we're trying to eliminate food waste from going to landfill and ensuring that it goes to a great cause. So we source food from all across the food industry, any avenues that create waste. That can be directly from farms, but also from manufacturing plants. We work with retailers, wholesalers, distributors, anywhere across the supply chain that waste is being created because it's an inevitability in the food industry. We then source that and deliver it completely free of charge to nearly 400 charities that are here in Greater London. Things have been changing in London the last few years with the cost of living crisis. Food banks have obviously grown, but also the types of people that we've been supporting has been really changing in the sense that it used to be people would think that if you donate food, it will only go to those who are homeless or out of work. But now actually, with rising costs of living here in London, you're finding that a lot of people in full-time employment are still struggling to support their families because their rent has gone up, their energy bills have gone up. It's just more expensive to live in London. And that means that a lot of families, even though they're working 8 hours a day, that means that they still are struggling to be able to afford their grocery shop at the end of the week. So a lot of what we're trying to do is alleviate that burden and sort of help these families with those extra costs at the end of the week. If they're short £60 just because of all their bills being so high, we can then support them by lowering the cost of their supermarket shop. Hunger in children is such a severe issue and something that we care very passionately about. We want to ensure that no child is going hungry. When you're going through so much development in your early years, it's so important that you have access to adequate nutrition, and that's a really important part of our goals. Right now, schools are closed for the summertime, which means we're experiencing what we call here holiday hunger, and that means that kids are not able to access meals during school, which means that they might be going hungry because a lot of families are experiencing food insecurity and having difficulties putting meals on the table for their entire family, so City Harvest is doing a lot of work to try to support these issues. There's a lot of amazing charities here in London that are supporting families during these periods. If you think about it, if your kid is eating at school every day and now they're home, that's an extra cost to your family. So we're trying to make that easier for families by giving them access to more support during this time to ensure that no child is having to skip a meal just because they're not in school right now.
We'd like to know more about how the waste foods relate to the energy saving or environmental friendly. How do we calculate about the carbon emissions?
Okay, so food waste is a hugely important problem because food ending up in landfill means that it's decomposing and releasing greenhouse gases. So for every kilo of food that goes to landfill, while it's in that landfill, it'll emit 3.8 kilos worth of CO2 emissions. So actually being able to get that food away from landfill and into the mouths of people who need it is an environmental benefit as well as a great social benefit. You're preventing the release of those greenhouse gases, and that's why we really see City Harvest as a twofold mission. We're looking to help the environment and we're also looking to help people through this initiative.
We found that garbage bags in London have different colors. So how does the UK recycle and dispose of waste?
My business partner and I, we come from the events industry, so from corporate events, and we realized that it's quite a wasteful industry. A lot of stuff gets produced only for a couple of days, and then what do you do with it after? We realized that was an issue when we were both made redundant from during COVID, and we're like, okay, there has to be a way, or there has to be something that can be done. And yeah, at the same time, we were volunteering quite a bit and realized it wasn't just about money, it wasn't just about volunteering time, it was also about stuff. Charities get a lot of grants, but the grants are always linked to a lot of requirements. For example, if it's a food bank, they have to spend that money on the food or on the transport to the people that in need, right? But that money usually doesn't cover a sofa for the volunteers in back of house area. So that's where we try and do that link where the items are for free for them, and they can benefit with that social impact piece. That's where we started off, and ever since we've grown and expanded, because it's not just about looking at what we can do for all of these items after the event, but it's looking at where we can start off and make sure that we don't create this waste in the beginning. When it comes to branding, merchandise, graphics, all sorts of stuff that have logos on, there's loads of different avenues that we can go down for with those items in order to either debrand them or encourage our clients to check with their clients to see whether the logos can go out into the local community. Sometimes it'll be an event tote bag that for some reason has a name on it or is specifically, done for an event, but it could go out into the local community. But then there are some obviously where it needs to really be debranded. And when it comes to things like graphics, like stretch fabric graphics, we can make those into tote bags or pencil cases or laptop sleeves. And we work with loads of social enterprises and charities in order to make that happen, just like with Little Ark. And they know how to cut up different logos and different branding in order to ensure that that branding isn't visible anymore. And at the same time, we can look at we just recently had a project where we had some wellies, some rain boots, and some ice buckets, and they had a branding on them. And we sent some acrylic paint to our charities so that they can paint over the wellies, over the logo, and over the ice buckets. So there are always ways of making the effort of debranding. But if more clients could not be as sensitive about their logo, because in the end, if an IT brand suddenly gets used or the logo is visible in a charity for men with mental health working in a workshop and making wooden stuff, it's not the perception of the brand will actually be positive because they're helping that community as opposed to it having a negative impact.
We really enjoy the process of making upcycled pumpkins, but where can they go? Charity shop may be the answer.
So Little Ark basically, little a.r.k means little acts of random kindness. So how I started it is that quite a while ago, there's a lot of people try to do good things and they don't have the platform to express their kindness. And when they say that they want to volunteer for something, they always find that joining a charity can be overwhelming. So I felt that it's always the little acts that really matters. So I gave it a name. And of course, an ark is like a vessel. And I believe that no one should be left behind, so that I call it Little Ark.
And notice that your studio is doing something that turning the waste to a treasure. You can do something about this.
So basically, it was during the pandemic that we were making a lot of facial coverings using fabric that was donated to us, and everyone was at lockdown doing things at home, and a lot of fabric was being thrown away, being wasted, because there's charity shops that were shut, recycling centers were closed, so there's a lot of textile waste that was not being able to be processed. And during that time, we were making facial covering, making scrub caps and scrub bags for the key workers in the hospital, and they are working, still teaching in schools. And we realized that, in fact, everyone was trying to do something at home, making it work. But then when the world reopened, what we realized that there was actually a lot of us who wants to upcycle, but we do struggle. So we don't have the space to do it at home. Like myself, I've got a big family, so I have my challenges. And because that we were doing so much textile waste reduction effort, the council actually saw that it was a great way to help the community to be involved and also to be more aware of how to reduce textile waste. Hence that they have given us opportunity to do some workshops with the community, and the feedback has been really, really good. The social impact, and of course with the items that we were able to come up with, making old things into new things that's usable. So this studio was set up as called the Pre-Love Studio. It was actually supported by a local charity called Sustainable Merton. So the wheel is one of the arms that is promoting circular economy. So what it does was that they felt that the textile waste reduction is a very, very important role to how to reduce things from going to landfill, and also helping people to understand that we can actually think otherwise before we put the textile into landfill. So I really believe that there's a lot of corporates out there and big organizations, even the governments and those in power, has got a lot of great strategies and resources from the top. And we as grassroots, I find that we are very often the mass at the bottom. So with the strategies and the resources from the top, it's great, but you also need the workers or the people who are really rolling their sleeve up to get some of the more groundwork done from the bottom. So I always say that it's from the top down and the bottom up, so that we meet each other somewhere in the middle, because without that, there's always only an effort from the top. So I say that I have mentioned this, where if someone feels that climate emergency is a conspiracy, do you actually think that they will actually look for ways to try to tackle the climate emergency? No, because people don't know what they don't know. And sometimes people know what they want to do, but they don't actually realize subconsciously what they're doing can help or can contribute, or reversely have negative impact. So if we reach out to the mass from the bottom, the grassroots and community level, what we're trying to do is that we are trying to engage with the community and see where the challenges are, and of course share the ideas and the knowledge that we know. I wouldn't say that we're educating people, but we are actually exchanging knowledge of just filling the gaps. And I always say this, I've joked about this. If a car manufacturer, they've got great architects, engineers and everything that designs the car, but there's no laborers or anyone to assemble the car, that car's not going to go on the road. So you do need people to work from the bottom, and you do need those who's from the top to work down. So that it's a sandwich I call, that we work together so that we meet somewhere that we will go faster and further.
So we're a homelessness charity that was founded in the 60s. We've only recently branched out into shops. Our main sort of service is working directly with homeless people, offering classes, coaching, employment advice, housing advice. We do some arts training as well and a bunch of different offers, all to sort of try to help end homelessness, as well as the lobbying and policy stuff we do as well. So it's a sort of broad church charity that does a lot of different work.
Why the charity shop is such an important thing?
So I think it's always been a part of UK culture for many years, and the sort of need for it and uses of it have changed over time. Originally it was a way for people who are downsizing and getting rid of items to give them and know that the money that's going to be raised from it is going to a good cause. As people's tastes and stuff have changed and people are more into secondhand, vintage and retro fashion and stuff, they've become, I think, even more popular, and there's become even more of a market for it. And people like giving stuff to a shop like this where they know that it's going to be displayed in a nice way, they know the money's going towards a good cause, and that it helps people be sustainable as well, with people's concerns around environmental issues with particularly fast fashion these days, with places like Primark and H&M and Zara. It's nice, I think, for people knowing that even after they finish wearing something, they know it'll go to another home and someone else will get use out of it instead of going to landfill or being incinerated or going to waste.
Do you have any suggestion or words you want to say to the audience?
I think if you have any spare time at all, or if you're interested in sustainable fashion at all, do pop into a local charity shop. It doesn't even have to be a crisis one. I think they're a great resource for people, for meeting new people, for engaging in ways you don't expect, and also for getting valuable experience in retail, to put on CVs, and just personal development as well. I started off as a volunteer originally, and the fact that I've been doing it now as a job full-time for almost 6 years, including my last job, I think is a testament to it's a career people don't think about, and I wish more people would engage with it in that way.
It's quite interesting that sometimes I feel quite guilty. I think for my generation, we are the convenient generation in a way because of civilization, modernization, and technology and everything that's going on. People make them in mass. It makes it cheaper. It's even more accessible and it's even more convenient. Hence that we feel that it's okay to throw, which is my generation. But then when it comes to the younger generation like yourself, you are the end result of our throw. And good thing that you're now the woke generation. You are educated and you are informed and you know what we should be doing. So this is why that now I would like to see the change. I would like to see the change of the gap being narrowed, where we can skill exchange more, skill share more, and those who know in the past, the knowledge can be passed on to us, and then we can then practice it together. I believe that hand in hand we have to do it together. So hopefully by the time that, well, I won't say by the time, we really need to do it now together. So we shall learn together.